Welcome to Voices in the Back. Over the next few weeks, we'll be having conversations with BIPOC Minnesota artists on the topic of racial issues, and at the end, a performance.
We'd like to thank all our sponsors for their support, including the Minnesota Music Coalition, the Hook and Ladder Theater, Indeed Brewing Company, First Avenue, The Warming House, and The Current, along with funding from the Metropolitan Regional Arts Council, that helping us make this series possible.
If you'd like to support us and help keep our series going, please donate to our Give Minnesota page, either on the screen right now or linked below. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter using our handle @VoicesInTheBack. All right, so we've got Smellkin Ernesto here. Why don't you just, introduce yourself, where you're from, what do you do, all that.
Okay, well, I am Smellkin Ernesto. I have lived in Minnesota for most of my life, minus maybe like 4 or 5 months. Grew up in a small town, west central Minnesota, and I have lived in Minneapolis for about 11 years now. I'm a musician. I have an audio engineering degree and background, so I haven't done as much production work lately. I mean, the primary focus really has just been the music project Smellkin Ernesto for the last few years.
Can you speak a little about the origin of your stage name?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it might be prefaced in, some of the stuff for this video, but I am a transracial international adoptee. So that means, for folks who are not familiar with that lingo, that means I was adopted into a family of another race other than my own, raised by white folks. And I got the name when I was around 18 years old. Finding my biological family was always kind of number one dream, aspiration ever since I can really remember. And when I was 18, I was able to access some more of my documentation and papers from that, and in that I found, when I was born, obviously, for my biological mother, there's, birth records, a birth certificate and stuff, and I was given a first name, and that name was Smellkin Ernesto. So I was thinking for a while of just going by that, but Smellkin is like, I don't know, I've heard like some people saying like, oh yeah, like I know that name, like Latino people from like Central and South America, but then like I've talked to other like Latinx people who are like, not as common, but also like I very much realized too that like my main demographic of listeners are probably gonna be like, these indie DIY white folks and stuff. So I thought like Smellkin is like, well, I can just tell people it's the word smell and it's the word kin next to each other. And also it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of goofy and dumb, and I'm kind of a goofy and dumb person too. So yeah, I stuck with that.
I think it's awesome. I love the origin of your name so much.
Thank you.
So what are some things that made you feel whole as you were growing up? And what are some things that helped you connect with your identity, really find your identity as you were growing up?
Yeah. In terms of things that have made me feel whole, obviously being here is one of those things. Any sort of creative and artistic thing always had a huge pull with me. When I was like really young, I loved like writing stories. I loved creating things, like Legos and stuff like that. But I also had like a wild imagination. I was pretty like solitary kid, and I was fine with that. And in retrospect, like it makes so much sense now too, because I think something that I clung to a lot was facets of like escapism. So like still to this day, like I'm a huge like sci-fi and fantasy lover and stuff like that. And it makes so much sense because there was a lot of things that I struggled and tormented with inside that I really had no one at all to talk to. And my family, they're great. I love my adoptive parents so much, but there was just so much that they had, it's like that generation of folks of white people who, did the whole, like, we're colorblind thing, which, bless their hearts, a lot of people that has the best intentions, but it is wildly naive and incorrect. And so yeah, I mean, my home family base, I had no one to talk to this stuff about. I had to figure out everything in terms of navigating the world of race and identity in America by myself. So yeah, I mean, like, music, Star Wars. I think that was like the first film I went to actually in a theater, like when they did those re-showings and stuff. I think that was like a magical thing for me. But then, of course, music too. And I mean, that was huge, and that was something I didn't actually even really take up until I was like 12 or 13. But once I did, like, kind of become confident enough to, because I was pretty shy too when I was young and never really sang a lot, but like, man, I love singing. Like, and I think I always did as a kid too, but like, I just thought, like, I'm not good enough. Like, I can't do that. That's not that's not me. I'm like shy little Eric. But yeah, that is something that just took a hold on me. And then I took up guitar when I was 13 or 12. And yeah, I mean, it was just kind of full steam ahead after that, no looking back. And that was the medium that definitely helped fill a lot of that gaping void and hole inside of me. Yeah.
So barring all obstacles or any barriers, like, what is one thing you would like to see change in the local music community?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of directions I think I could go on this, but I feel like in one way or another, it all comes down to representation. Speaking as, like a transracial adoptee and like, someone who grew up, constantly surrounded by whiteness, being like the only brown person in the room. I didn't have heroes and I didn't have strong voices, other than, typically hetero white voices, But in regards to representation too, I mean, I think, it's not just about the artists and stuff too. I mean, it's about everything. I mean, when it comes to door people, when it comes to bartenders, when it comes to who's booking, who's managing, who's owning the place, especially like with ownership and stuff like that, we need more of that. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, I'm sure y'all are familiar with like Pimento and stuff like that. Man, like, in the before times, like when I needed a break from white people, I go to Pimento on the weekends. And we don't have like enough of those venues and spaces and stuff like that, I don't think. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, representation is such a small thing, but like, I know as a very lonely, lost, and sad kid, like, seeing that kind of representation makes all the difference, makes these things feel tangible and accessible. But yeah, I think that's a big thing. I mean, we have a great music scene here, and it's certainly, I feel like in the last decade, really elevated voices of women, of trans and non-binary people. But I mean, for me, like, being outside of like the rap and hip hop scene, I'm kind of more in the DIY, indie, rock, punk scene. Very white still. So, and all those people are, I would say, definitely down with the cause. And I mean, a lot of my white peers I've worked with, I would certainly, without a hesitation say they're all allies. But, at the end of the day too, we just need more of our faces out there.
Right on. Who are some artists you'd like to see on Voices in the Back?
I would love to see Jada Brown is an indigenous native female vocalist. I played a show with one of her old bands like a few years back at like some house show thing. It was just like blown away by her voice. I know that she's been releasing some new stuff actually, like I think as of like last week. Kind of more like the R&B pop stuff. There's another guy I've been listening to a lot lately too, Solana, the Latino guy doing, you know, kind of the R&B pop style stuff. Another really good person, Nile. Boy, I hope I pronounced that right. Nile is a black artist who definitely like does like a lot of the same style music I would say I do. Kind of like, you know, if you looked us up on Spotify, we may be in like the bedroom pop like Spotify playlist or something like that. But also I believe just helped co-produce a fantastic song by the artist Kimchi. If y'all are familiar, I know that they've played with Clairo, Clairo, who is actually quite, you know, has some renown, and the Kimchi song that just came out is fantastic that I believe he helped produce. Tim is a Rocker is another person that I had actually played a few shows with in the past. Powerhouse performer, holy moly's, front leading black person, I believe, who has done some pretty cool stuff in the drag scene as well too. They're super awesome. I know I had Nerdy, I think is probably going to be mentioned by like every one of us. Like if you haven't booked him already, like what are you guys doing here?
And then is there anything that you want to plug?
Yes, I will plug the 2 of the 3 songs I played today on the video, Solo Dímelo and How Much Longer. Don't have an exact date yet, but they will be released very likely around the time this video comes out, or maybe like January 21. But I also do want to plug something entirely non-music related, called a book that I was actually a contributing author to maybe like 5 years ago now or something like that. It's called Decoding Our Origins, the Lived Experiences of Colombian Adoptees. There's actually a enormously huge community of Colombiano adoptees in Minneapolis. It's very bizarre. It was really shocking and eye-opening when I kind of found that group just like randomly searching stuff like on Facebook like 7 years ago. And we put together, like about 17 or 18 of us put together this kind of anthology book where we basically just write essays on our experiences with it. You know, everything from, you know, how the adoption was done. I mean, race, identity, just dealing with that. But also, I mean, a lot of stories too, showing the blatant corruption in the international adoption world. I mean, I was trafficked. Like, I was not meant to be given away. There was a lot of lies. At the end of the day, I mean, I was not supposed to be given away, and I was. I mean, to me, international adoption is and continues to be, more often than not, just human trafficking with extra steps. So the really cool thing about that book, though, even though it's old and I can still plug it, is because all the profits for the book do go towards buying DNA test kits for mothers and family in Colombia trying to find their children, because a lot of people that were adopted in the mid-'80s and especially the 70s, I mean, a lot of those people were just, you know, very bad, shady circumstances where they either literally just snatched up or taken away under, you know, false pretenses or whatnot. And of course, their papers don't seem to exist. Or one orphanage called Fana had like a fire like in the 80s that lost all their papers. So really the only hope for a lot of international adoptees to find family is through DNA testing. So you can find that book on Amazon. I know Amazon does suck, but I mean, for this project, I mean, the goal is to get that word out and make it as simple as possible for as many people, because that's really the only way that DNA testing works. It's like you got to have people do it. And yeah, so that is a really cool project. So if you do buy that book, all that money is going straight towards a DNA test kit for a mother who might be finding, her child that she lost 40 years ago.
Sweet. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
And thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Smellkin Ernesto, everyone. Thank you so much.
Great music lives here. We are committed to amplifying Minnesota music to keep it independent and influential. Get closer to Minnesota music with The Local Show and The Duluth Local Show, Sunday nights on The Current.
Voices in the Back is proud to present Smellkin Ernesto.
Song is called Solo Dímelo. Esperando, buscando, ya sabes, pero yo no lo digo y rezo, algún día lo verás a mi manera. So why can't you simply say, take me back when we were taken away? And I guess you think we don't need to know, 'cause they were our lives, they're not yours to scold. Solo dímelo, para que por fin pueda dormir tranquilo. Solo dímelo, para que por fin pueda dormir tranquilo. Necesitando, como pudiste hacer esto, porque era necesario. Damage is done. Did you have any fun? I don't know what I could say, make you change your ways. Dumb or clever, still wouldn't need to know. Better late than never, the very least you could show. Solo dímelo, para que por fin pueda dormir tranquilo. Solo dímelo, para que por fin pueda dormir tranquilo.
This last song is called How Much Longer.
Tired every day, thinking how much longer can we even stay? I'm so angry now all of the time, telling myself that we would be just fine. They don't care, they won't see, they won't hear you. If we did, we wouldn't be living this way. We can scream, we can cry, we can beg, please. Put it all down, still know we're close to okay. So baby, how can we take it much longer? Now can we set ourselves free, you and me? I'm wondering how can I come out this stronger? Living in a world that doesn't value me. So baby, how can we take it much longer? How can we set ourselves free, you and me? I'm wondering how can I come out the stronger? Living in a world that doesn't value me. For too long, if you don't like it, go back to where you're from. How dare we speak our truth out loud? Living in the States when you're black or brown, still getting lynched, getting caged, getting shot down just for existing in a different way. They don't mind when we die, it's so clear now. Pull life until that baby's very first birthday. So baby, how can we take it much longer? Now can we set ourselves free, you and me? I'm wondering how can I come out the stronger? Living in a world that doesn't value me. So baby, how can we take it much longer? How can we set ourselves free, you and me? I'm wondering how can I come out the stronger? Living in a world that doesn't value me. So baby, how can we take it much longer? How can we set ourselves free? I'm wondering how can I come out this stronger? In a world that doesn't value me.